Prologue. Long ago, in the age of the Xia Dynasty, men and women still whispered of the time when the world was young. The rivers had not yet been tamed. They surged like living beasts, wild and merciless. Villages rose along their banks, fertile and green in times of peace, but cursed when floods came roaring down. It was said the rivers carried spirits, ancient, restless beings who ruled the waters like kings. Some brought blessings of fish and rain. Others brought only ruin. This is the tale of Wei Liang, a man born with a plow in his hands and calluses on his palms, who became a warrior when the rivers demanded blood. Chapter 1: The Village of Willow Shores. The village lay cradled between low hills and the wide bend of the Luo River. From dawn to dusk, farmers bent over the fields, their reflections shimmering in water pooled from clever irrigation ditches. Wei Liang was among them, tall, broad-shouldered, with skin browned by sun. He wielded his hoe with the ease of a soldier, though he had never marched to war. His father had taught him the rhythm of planting seed, soil, water, sun. A rhythm older than dynasties, as old as the earth itself. That evening, when the day's work was done, Liang sat on the riverbank, watching the sunset turn the waters to bronze. He strummed a reed flute, a simple tune carried on the breeze. His betrothed, Mei Lin, came and sat beside him. "Your music always makes the river sound calmer," she teased, brushing dark hair from her eyes. "Or perhaps," Liang replied with a smile, "the river listens and grows jealous." Mei laughed softly, resting her head on his shoulder. The fields swayed golden behind them. The river gleamed before them. For a moment the world felt at peace. But peace, like harvest, never lasted forever. Chapter 2: The Omen. The first sign came with the fish. One morning, villagers found hundreds of them washed ashore, their silver scales dull, their bodies stiff. Children cried as elders shook their heads. "A curse," they muttered. That night, Liang dreamt of the river. It rose like a wall of glass, towering above the village. Within its depths, he saw eyes, countless, glowing, ancient. A voice boomed like thunder underwater. "You take and take from our veins. Return the land to the waters or be drowned." He awoke drenched in sweat, heart racing. At dawn, he told the elders. Some dismissed it as a dream, others grew pale. "The river spirits grow restless," an old woman whispered. "They remember the days before men carved fields. They are jealous of our harvest." Liang clenched his fists. "We must appease them, or fight them." The headman frowned. "And how does one fight a river?" Chapter 3: The First Flood. The answer came 3 days later. Dark clouds gathered at noon, though no storm was forecast. The river swelled with terrifying speed, breaking its banks in a foaming surge. Crops vanished beneath brown waves. Huts crumbled as villagers screamed. Liang ran into the torrent, seizing children, pulling them to high ground. His muscles burned as he dragged his father's oxen free, shouting for help. Mei Lin clung to his arm, her robe plastered to her body by rain, her eyes wide with terror. "It's not just water," she cried, and she was right. From the waves rose figures, translucent shapes, half man, half serpent, with hair like streaming weeds and eyes like glowing jade. Their voices boomed with the roar of the current. "Return the land. The soil belongs to us." Villagers wailed, some dropping to their knees in prayer. But Liang stepped forward, planting his feet in the rushing water, gripping a farming spear used to drive oxen. "This soil feeds my people," he shouted. "We cannot give it back." The river spirits laughed, a sound like crashing rapids. One surged forward, striking Liang with a wave. He was hurled back, lungs burning, but he rose again, planting his spear against the current. "Then drown with your fields," the spirit roared. The flood swept higher. Chapter 4: The Warrior is Born. Night fell with the storm still raging. The village clung to the hills, fires sputtering in soaked huts. Fields lay under water, grain ruined. Despair settled over the people like a second flood. Liang stood before the elders, soaked to the bone, spear in hand. "They will return," he said. His voice was steady, though his body trembled with exhaustion. "The spirits want us gone. If we do nothing, the river will take all." "And what would you have us do?" an elder asked bitterly. "Fight water with wood? Spears against floods?" Liang's jaw tightened. "If the river is alive, then I will face it as a man faces any enemy. I will fight not only with steel, but with earth itself. We will build higher walls, dig deeper channels. We will tame the waters." Mei Lin stepped forward, eyes shining with fear and pride. "Then I will fight beside you." The villagers murmured, some with doubt, others with hope. But in that moment, as lightning split the sky and the river howled below, the plowman became something more. Wei Liang, son of the fields, had become a warrior. Chapter 5: Rebuilding the Fields. When the waters finally receded, silence fell over Willow Shores. The fields, once golden with millet, were now a swamp of broken stalks and stinking mud. Homes sagged, their walls warped, their roofs collapsed. The villagers moved slowly, numb with grief. Wei Liang stood in the ruins of his own field, mud caked to his legs. He bent down, pulled a broken stalk from the muck, and stared at it for a long while. Mei Lin touched his arm. "It can grow again." Liang looked at her, hair damp, face pale, but eyes steady. "Not if the river spirits return." That night he gathered the villagers. Fires flickered weakly, casting their faces in trembling light. "I am only a farmer," Liang said, "but I know this. If we do nothing, the river will come again and wash us away. If we fight it with walls, dikes, and canals, we have a chance." An elder coughed. "And if the spirits break them? Then I will face the spirits myself," Liang said. His words hung heavy. Fear weighed on the crowd, but also a spark of hope. By dawn, the village was working. Men hauled stone from the hills, women wove ropes and reeds, children carried baskets of earth. Together, under Liang's lead, they began to build. Chapter 6: Whispers in the Water. Days passed. The village rose from despair, sweat mixing with mud as dikes grew taller and canals carved new channels for the river. Liang worked at the front of every task, carrying more than any man, digging longer than any youth. At night, he walked the riverbanks alone, spear in hand, listening. Once, as the moon rose pale over the waters, a voice drifted from the current, soft, almost gentle. "Why struggle, farmer? Why bleed for soil that will not last? Come into the waters. Rest." Liang tightened his grip on the spear. "You destroyed our crops. You nearly drowned our children. And you ask me to surrender." The water rippled, and a face formed upon its surface, beautiful yet eerie, with long hair flowing like reeds. Eyes like jade glimmered. "We were here before you," the spirit said. "These lands belong to the rivers. You mortals are thieves, stealing what we gave." Liang's heart pounded, yet he forced his voice to remain calm. "If you gave the land, why take it back with blood?" The spirit's smile widened. "Because you forgot gratitude. You plow and plant and think yourselves masters. But rivers do not serve men." The water surged, and the face vanished. Liang stood long in silence before returning home, Mei Lin waiting anxiously at the door. "They spoke to you again?" she asked. "Yes," Liang said, "and I think they mean to test us." Chapter 7: The Festival of the First Harvest. Despite the fear, life continued. The Xia people believed in honoring heaven and earth together, so when the first sprouts rose from the newly planted fields, the villagers held a small festival. Lanterns swayed in the evening wind. Reed flutes played, drums echoed. Children laughed as they danced, their feet splashing in shallow pools left by the floods. Wei Liang and Mei Lin walked among the crowd, hands brushing. For the first time in many days, she laughed. A clear, gentle sound. "Do you remember?" she asked. "The first time you played your flute for me by the river?" Liang smiled. "You said the river was jealous of my song. And perhaps it was." Mei Lin's eyes sparkled. "Perhaps it still is." He stopped, turning to face her. The lantern light reflected in her eyes. his voice lowered. Then let the river rage. I will not let it take you. She touched his cheek softly. For a moment, the storm seemed far away, but as the drums beat louder, the river stirred. The music faltered as waves slapped the shore harder than the wind should have allowed. Lanterns flickered. Villagers froze. From the waters rose shapes again. This time not one or two, but a host. Dozens of spirits, their forms glistening in moonlight, eyes glowing green. The festival became screams. Chapter 8: The Battle at Willow Shores. The spirits surged from the river, their voices like thunder. Return the land or be drowned. Men grabbed hoes, women raised sticks, children fled behind the dikes. Liang pushed Mei Lin back toward safety, then planted his spear in the mud. Stand firm, he shouted. This is our home. The spirits lashed with waves. Water struck like whips, knocking men from their feet. Villagers screamed as huts collapsed under the force. Liang charged, spear thrusting through a watery figure. For a moment it dissolved, but then it reformed, laughing. You cannot kill the river, it hissed. Then I will strike until you listen. Liang roared, slashing again. The golden moon broke through clouds, glinting on the water. Mei Lin stood behind him, holding a torch. She flung it into the wave, and steam hissed as the spirit recoiled with a shriek. Fire, she cried. They fear fire. Villagers rallied, grabbing torches from the festival. Flames lit the night, smoke curling as spirits hissed and retreated. Still, the river rose higher, furious. Waves crashed against the dikes, testing their strength. Liang stood atop the wall, torch in one hand, spear in the other, shouting down into the storm. Enough! We will not leave. If you want our lives, you must take me first. The waters shuddered, and for a moment, all was still. Then a single spirit rose, taller than the rest, crowned in foam, eyes burning like emerald fire. So be it, it said. Warrior farmer, we accept your challenge. The river roared, and the duel began. Chapter 14: The Breaking Wave. The river lord reformed, his towering body raging like a storm. Waves spiraled around him, crashing against the jade riverbed. His emerald eyes burned with fury. You dare wound me? He thundered. You, a mortal of dust and soil? Liang staggered to his feet, spear trembling in his hands. His body ached, his lungs burned, but his spirit did not yield. I am dust, he said, voice steady. But dust can plant a seed, and seeds can split stone. The river lord roared, rushing forward in a wall of water. Liang braced, plunging his spear into the ground again. The weapon shone, glowing with the strength of earth and toil. When the wave struck, the spear held firm. The water split, crashing to either side like storm broken on mountains. The spirits gasped, their whispers echoing like wind through reeds. For the first time, the river lord looked uncertain. Chapter 15: Words of Balance. The river lord loomed close, his massive form trembling with wrath, and something more. Weariness. Why do you fight so fiercely, mortal? Your life is short. Your fields are fragile. Why risk yourself against eternity? Liang met his gaze. Because every harvest matters. Every grain of millet, every sheaf of wheat feeds children who laugh, parents who live another day. You speak of eternity. I fight for today. The river lord's eyes narrowed. Liang pressed on. We cannot conquer rivers. We cannot own them, but we can live beside them. You give us water. We give you reverence. Without you, we starve. Without us, who remembers your name? Silence fell across the realm. The lesser spirits murmured, voices softer now. Some nodded, their forms flowing like calm streams instead of raging floods. The river lord's great form began to shrink, water folding inward until he stood before Liang not as a giant, but as a tall man with flowing hair and emerald eyes. You speak boldly, he said. Perhaps there is wisdom in dust after all. Chapter 16: The Pact. The river lord extended his hand. Then hear my oath. The Luo shall feed your fields if your people honor its flow. Build your dikes, but leave the river paths free. Take fish, but give offerings. Plow, but never forget the waters that nourish you. Liang gripped the spirit's hand, though it felt like holding a current itself. And I give mine. We will honor the river as we honor the sun and soil. We will live not against you, but beside you. The water shimmered. The court of spirits bowed, their forms dissolving back into streams and waves. The river lord stepped back, his body unfolding once more into water. His voice echoed like the rushing tide. Return, farmer warrior. Guard your people. Tell them the river is not their enemy, if they remember balance. The current rose, and Liang felt himself lifted, carried upward, away from the Jade Realm. Chapter 17, Return to Dawn. Wei Liang gasped as he broke the surface of the Luo River. Dawn spilled golden light across the hills. Villagers crowded the shore, eyes wide as they saw him stumble from the water, spear in hand. Mei Lin ran to him, tears streaming. She threw her arms around him. You came back. I promised, Liang said softly, holding her close. The villagers pressed forward. What did the spirits say? Are we safe? Liang raised his voice, steady and clear. The river will flow, the fields will grow, if we live in respect. Offer thanks. Do not take more than is given. The river is our ally, not our foe. A cheer rose, tired but joyful. For the first time since the floods began, hope filled Willow Shores. That season, the millet sprouted strong. The river ran full but never wild. And on quiet nights, when the wind rustled the reeds, some swore they could hear a low voice in the waters. Not angry, but watchful. Epilogue. Years later, songs were still sung of Wei Liang, the farmer who stood against the river. Children laughed when they heard how he fought waves with a torch, how he faced the river lord himself. Lovers sighed at the story of his promise to Mei Lin. And every year, at the first harvest, the people of Willow Shores cast baskets of grain and fruit into the Luo, thanking it for its gift. Liang would stand with Mei Lin by the shore, their hands entwined, watching the offerings float away. The river tests us still, he would say quietly. And we answer still, Mei Lin replied. And so balance endured. Moral of the story. The tale of Wei Liang teaches that true strength is not in conquering nature, but in living with it. Courage can resist floods, but wisdom makes peace. Balance is the foundation of every harvest, and respect is the root of every blessing. Even the humblest, a farmer with calloused hands, can rise as a warrior when his people and home are threatened. Author's note: this story is a blend of legend and imagination. The Xia Dynasty is remembered in Chinese tradition as the first dynasty, though its history is part myth, part archaeology. Floods and rivers played a vital role in early China, and many myths tell of struggles between people and river spirits. Wei Liang, Mei Lin, and the River Lord are fictional creations, but they echo the themes found in early Chinese lore: the eternal struggle between humanity and nature, and the search for harmony. The purpose of this tale is not strict historical accuracy, but to offer a romantic, adventurous journey into the spirit of early China, where farming, survival, love, and myth intertwined. Chapter 9, Into the River. The night after the festival battle, the village lay silent. Torches burned low, and smoke still hung in the air. The dikes held, but only just. Wei Liang sat apart from the others, spear across his knees. His clothes were soaked, his body heavy with exhaustion, but his mind burned. The spirit's words echoed, "Warrior farmer, we accept your challenge." He knew what it meant. This was no longer about fields or floods. It was about proving whether mortals had the right to live beside the river. Mei Lin came quietly, sitting beside him. "You will go," she said softly. Liang nodded. "If I do not, the river will never stop." Her hand found his. "Then promise me one thing." "What?" "That you will come back. Not only for the village, for me." Liang turned, meeting her gaze. For a moment, the world shrank to just them. Her eyes shining in the firelight, her hand warm despite the cold night. He pressed her hand against his chest. "I promise," he said. "At dawn, armed with his spear and carrying only a charm Mei Lin tied around his wrist. Wei Liang stepped into the river. The waters rose to meet him, not in fury but in strange stillness. Then, like a door opening, the current pulled him down. The world of men vanished. Chapter 10: The Realm of Waters. Liang found himself in a place both beautiful and terrifying. He stood on a riverbed that glowed like polished jade, while currents shimmered around him like walls of glass. Shapes swam in the waters above. Fish larger than horses, serpents with jeweled eyes, pale forms that shifted between men and beasts. At the center of this realm, seated upon a throne of coral and bone, was the great spirit who had spoken, the River Lord of Luo. His form was immense. Shoulders broad as cliffs, hair flowing like waves, eyes burning green. Around him gathered lesser spirits, their whispers echoing like the hiss of rapids. The River Lord's voice shook the current. Wei Liang, mortal, farmer, you dare step into our depths. Liang planted his spear, though the water pressed heavy against him. I came as you demanded. If you want my life, take it, but leave my people in peace. The River Lord's laughter rumbled like thunder beneath water. Brave, but foolish. Do you think courage alone can change the course of rivers? Liang raised his chin. If men can turn fields from mud and stone, if we can guide water into ditches and canals, then yes, courage can tame rivers. A murmur swept the court of spirits. Some sneered, others looked uneasy. The River Lord's smile sharpened. Then prove it. Face the trials of water. If you endure, I may grant your village peace. If you fail, your soul will sink with the drowned. Chapter 11: Trial of Currents. The waters shifted. Liang was hurled into a rushing torrent, currents twisting like living snakes. He spun and struggled, his lungs burning. The water pulled him in every direction at once. Yield! Voices cried from the current. Let go! Rest in the river's embrace. Liang's vision blurred. His spear slipped from his hands, but his wrist brushed Mei Lin's charm, bound tight with red thread. Her voice seemed to whisper through the roar. Come back to me. He clenched his teeth, reached for the spear, and drove it into the riverbed. Muscles screamed, but he held. Slowly, painfully, he forced himself upright against the current. The torrent broke around him, dissolving into calm waters. The spirits murmured. The River Lord's eyes narrowed. You endure, he said, but can you fight? Chapter 12: Trial of Blades. Figures rose from the water, warriors of living current, each armed with spears of crystal. They circled Liang, silent and swift. The first lunged. Liang parried, the clash ringing like stones struck by steel. Another came from behind. He spun, thrusting his spear through its chest. The watery figure burst apart, only to reform again with a hiss. They attacked in waves, striking from all sides. Liang's arms burned, his breath ragged. But he fought on, every strike powered not by rage but by the memory of his people. Men sowing fields, women weaving baskets, children laughing in golden sun. I fight for them, he shouted, slamming his spear down. The water shuddered. The warriors dissolved, swept away like mist. Again, the court of spirits murmured. Some no longer sneered. Some bowed their heads. The River Lord rose from his throne, eyes blazing brighter. Strength, endurance. But one trial remains. He raised his hand, and the waters darkened. A shadow deeper than night spread across the realm. Face me. Chapter 13: Duel with the River Lord. The waters roared as the River Lord surged forward, towering above Liang like a wave. His arms swept wide, currents crashing with the force of avalanches. Liang leapt aside, the water slamming into the riverbed where he had stood. He lunged, driving his spear toward the spirit's chest. But the Lord caught it in one hand, twisting, nearly tearing it away. You are strong for a mortal, the spirit said, voice thundering. But you are still flesh. You cannot defeat the river. Liang's muscles strained. Perhaps not, but I can stand against it. He wrenched the spear free, spinning and striking again. Sparks of light flared where iron met water. The river lord bellowed, striking with fists that cracked like waves against cliffs. Liang staggered, blood in his mouth, ribs aching. The spirit pressed harder, currents swirling like storms. Liang fell to one knee, but then he remembered planting fields, remembered pushing seed into soil even when floods threatened to wash it away. He remembered Mei Lin's hand in his. "Even floods recede," he whispered. With a roar, he drove his spear deep into the riverbed. Power surged upward, splitting the waters. The realm shuddered. The river lord stumbled, his form breaking into torrents that swirled uncontrolled. The spirits gasped. For the first time, the river lord faltered.